Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you just how to knit thumb holes on mittens. And this will actually work for knitting fingers on gloves or just fingers on anything basically. This video is just a small footnote to my main video on how to knit mittens, so definitely go check that out if you want to learn the basics of how to knit mittens or gloves. Otherwise, good luck and enjoy. Knitting a thumb hole is super easy. The first thing that you're going to want to do is reserve a space for your thumb hole. And typically a thumb hole is going to be about 8 stitches in size. If you have a smaller thumb, you could probably get that down to 4 or 5 stitches. And then also, depending on the needle size, that's going to factor into that as well. But for this one, all I'm going to do is reserve 8 stitches for the thumb hole. So what you're going to need is some spare yarn that you're not going to be using. And then you'll need kind of a large piece. This is about a foot wide or a foot long. Take the spare yarn and give yourself some length at the end of it. And all you're going to be doing is knitting 8 stitches with just the spare yarn. So you can disregard whatever yarn you're using your project for. So do 8 stitches. So there's 8 stitches there, and then you can just put aside the scrap yarn. You're not going to use it again, and you can pick back up your normal yarn that you're using for your project. What these 8 stitches do with the scrap yarn, it just saves a space for the thumb hole. So when you're all done with your project, you're going to pull this out, so there'll be a nice hole, and that's where you can build the thumb off of. With the first couple of stitches after you're knitting with the scrap yarn, you're going to want to be very careful not to make this too tight. So if you pull this way too tight, that's going to kind of defeat the purpose of making a thumb hole, because it's going to pull these together. So keep some slack there. You don't have to make it too loose, just loose enough for the thumb hole to be stretching out and work normal. So knit those. And then just keep knitting. So now you can kind of see a better idea there. There's the scrap yarn, and it's just sitting there, reserving the spot for the thumb hole. And when we're done, we'll yank this out, and I will show you how to do that. But for now, just keep knitting and then finish it off, and then you'll handle the thumb hole at the very end. Here's my finished mitten. It's very small, it wouldn't fit your hand, it's just kind of a test mitten. And here is the part that I've reserved for the thumb. What you're going to do is yank out this spare strip of yarn, but before we do that, we want to slide the needle through 8 of these loops on both sides, and then we can yank it off. Slide your needle through the right loop of each stitch. So if you think about a stitch, it's got, it makes kind of a V shape. So there's going to be the left side and the right side. You're going to want to just pick one of those sides. It doesn't really matter if you do the left one or the right one, but consistency is the key. So if you do the right one, like I'm going to be doing, then you're going to want to do the right side for all of them. Now I'm going to do the same for the top part. So on top of the yellow yarn here. Now that you have those 8 stitches picked up on both sides, the kind of fun part is up. Basically just take another needle and yank out the spare yarn that you used to reserve that spot. After pulling out the spare yarn, you're left with this gaping hole. And what I do is, before I start knitting again, I separate the 8 stitches evenly, so 4 on each needle. I like to use 4 just because it makes the circle form a little nicer and smoother, otherwise it's going to be a little boxy. And then this middle part, here's that string that you pulled over at the beginning and you kept it nice and slack. That can either be tucked in somewhere or woven in. Sometimes I'll tie it off somewhere or cut it in half and tie it off. Kind of just depends on what you want to do with it. Now you're actually going to start knitting. So take your yarn, and you're not going to need to make a slip knot or anything like that. So just keep a long tail end of the yarn, and you can start anywhere. I like to just start at the top here. And these first couple of stitches will be kind of tight just because they are kind of twisted at a weird angle right now. All you do is just grow out the thumb as long as you want it to be. I usually like to finish them off, so I won't make it like a full enclosed thumb. It'll have like a tip showing. So to do that, I just cast off my stitches after I've made about an inch or so of a thumb. So I'm going to go ahead and cast off right now and do that. Here's what the thumb looks like after I cast off. So it's got a nice little hole that you can stick your thumb through and still use it to use your phone or whatever. A couple problems with this that you'll run into are holes where you connect it. So there's a big hole right here, and then there's an even bigger hole on this side. What you'll want to do is use the extra yarn you have here at the end and then at the beginning, and just use that to weave that hole shut on both sides. And that is basically how to make a thumb. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Really, you can use this method for making fingers. Doesn't have to be just thumbs. So good luck, and I will see you next time.